We welcome on the program PPS Group's manager, Macy Seperepere, to tell us more about the challenges of young professionals. Good to have you in studio. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I saw you looking at that particular insert that's going to be shown on special assignment as well. And you were almost kind of nodding, like saying, yeah, that's what happens.
It's quite scary because, I mean, a lot of young kids get lured into these different situations because they're looking for more money.
Yeah.
And some of them spend it because they don't know what else to do with it. They've got so much money from their bursary funds and then they end up wasting the money on different activities.
It's frightening. It is really frightening. But that's unfortunately the reality that we find ourselves in. You know, I was telling you that I had a beautiful day yesterday. I wasn't actually working here on Morning Live. I spent the day at the University of the Free State, and I was giving the graduation speech to the graduates there as they enter into the real world. And, you know, that sense of excitement, that sense of I'm entering into this amazing place where opportunities abound. I'm now going to earn money. I'm going to start working. I have my degree. But is that really the case?
Yeah, it's challenging. I mean, so far now in the country, it's a situation with graduates not being able to find employment. But graduates in the same process have an opportunity to use their skill sets, you know, to start their own lives in an entrepreneurial way. Some of the degrees that are coming through, like a lot of medical doctors, actually we don't think about it, but a lot of medical doctors are self-employed and they're entrepreneurs in their own right. And a lot of people won't even think about it. They'll think, oh no, he's a doctor, but it's different. But when you actually analyze it, he's self-employed, he's an entrepreneur, and he's adding to the system.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way it is. What type of responsibilities do young people actually face when they enter into the work environment?
The biggest challenge, some of them have to pay off their study loans.
Yeah, that's the big
A lot
one.
of them have to take care of families, and it becomes a bit of a challenge for young people to actually start saving money. And with that, like starting to save and think about their retirement. How can somebody think about retirement when you're thinking about how do I feed my family? Here's a family that supported me through my studies. I need to now give back and help my family.
Yeah.
So it's there's lots of different challenges. It's finding employment, making sure that, you know, are you being paid, you know, according to your salary, to the correct salary scale by moving into your first job. Those are a lot of things that you need to take into consideration.
And the importance of young people actually establishing personal and career goals as they enter into it. Well, how important is it?
That's very important. I think for us, first of all, if you need to plan. Once you have a plan, when you meet with a financial advisor, when you meet with a financial planner, if you have your own plan and you can tell the financial planner, this is my plan for my life, this is what I want to do, and they can then give you tools that can actually help you to make sure, okay, how do you make sure this particular young person reaches those particular targets and achieves what they actually have in mind.
I like the next segment of this interview we're going to talk about is that online profile.
Yes.
You know, I don't know if the youth really realize that whatever you put out there stays with you for the rest of your life.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the pieces of advice that you do give out, is that you say keep your online profile professional.
That's very important because this is where you're selling yourself.
Yeah.
Even though you don't think about it, you're selling yourself. This is what the world perceives of you. So if you're coming across as a person who's constantly negative, how do employers look at you?
Absolutely.
Employers won't actually, they'll look and say, oh, this person's always very negative.
Oh.
They might not be a good person to add into our work environment. So you need to think about the things that you're posting online.
Yeah.
Yes, people always assume, yeah, it's my private space.
Exactly.
Not really.
Nothing is your private space. I mean, the reality is if it doesn't matter if you meet somebody, if somebody applies for a job, if you sort of are contacted by anybody, it's unbelievable how everything is linked in.
Yes.
If you get an email from somebody, automatically a photograph pops up of them. It shows you if they're on Facebook.
Yes.
You can click on the link, go into their Facebook profile. Yes, they may have locked it, but there are certain photographs and things that are available for you to see.
Yes.
And if you are living this frivolous lifestyle and you're applying for this job, somebody's not going to hire you because of that.
Yes,
and that's
true.
the reality. Have you seen incidences of this?
There's many incidences. I mean, quite recently there was one of the young lady with her pictures of herself exposed that were sent by an ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
You know, those are the type of things, and she's a law student. So you're
Wow.
thinking, okay, What law firm is actually going to sit and say, well, we'll hire her because of what's happened in her past? Even though it's a past, but it actually determines what your future will look like.
You know, when a company hires you, they're investing in you, and it's their reputation at stake as well. And that's the reality. I mean, I think you have to carry that reputation as well. And if you're already coming in carrying baggage,
it becomes difficult to hire somebody. You could be perfect on paper, perfect in an interview, but when certain things that also come into play, when they actually analyze, you know, what does the person's social profile look like, and when they find that, you know, you've got a, you know, very questionable social profile, then, you know, it kind of could limit the potential of you being employed.
It is scary, and it is a difficult point that the youth of today find themselves in, because I mean, if I remember myself back when I was younger and having fun, I would also love to put everything on Facebook and share it with my friends and show that I'm having the time of my life wherever I may have been, without thinking of the future. See, in my day it wasn't like that. We never had those risks and those pitfalls when it was coming to apply for a job. So times have changed, and you have to be vigilant. Is there enough education around this, though?
There's been a lot of education, and I think it's also a lot of there's like, for example, Gibbs has a program on social media management, and learning about that and saying, okay, look, how do I actually manage my social media profile, and how do I manage social media for my business and even if you're going to run your own business, you as an individual are going to be the face of your business. So if your social profile looks different from what your business talks about, a lot of people are going to find themselves in a difficult situation to say, do they support the business or do they not support the business?
Yeah. So let's have a look at some of the biggest challenges that are facing graduates now. And I know that unemployment is a major issue, because there are so many qualified young graduates that are out there desperately searching for jobs, and they just can't find it. So, you know, what do you advise them? What are the routes to go?
I think a lot of people always, like, we assume that we graduate and you want to go into formal employment, when there's so many opportunities. Somebody could be sitting with an idea at home and actually saying, okay, here's an idea, but think about how do you actually pull it through? How do you think it through? How do you make it happen? How do you make it come to life? And I find a lot of people are scared to do that. There's a fear around, you know, taking my idea and actually trying to make a life out of it. When people find formal employment comfortable and there's a sense of security around it, and people are less risk, they less risk averse to actually starting something on their own.
Yeah. So you advise, but it is difficult, though. I mean, the funding is difficult, especially if you've just come out of, you know, studying, and then you sort of have to come up with your own idea and fund your own idea. And I suppose there's a lot
of places where if you've got a great idea, and there's a lot of institutions, organizations that are looking for good ideas. And if you've got a good idea, you've penned it down in paper, you're a graduate, you've been exposed to different opportunities, you've studied so much about different things, you can see where the gaps lie, and you could be that person that provides a solution to the various gaps that the country might even have, or a particular industry might even have. And you could be that person that steps forward. I mean, Bill Gates started something that, you know, it's a computer. We didn't think about taking the evolution of computers to going to this far. You know, with the Apple right now, there's so many different things that are happening, and it was all one person's idea, and they actually worked hard to make it come to life.
Indeed. I mean, you give Steve Jobs as an example as well. I mean, he was in fact fired from his own company at the time, and then came back and said that was the best thing that ever happened to him. So there are grand examples out there, and it's just tapping into your inner self to find it. Macy, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Macy Seperepere, the manager of professional associations at PPS, just talking to us about graduates and the challenges that they're going to be facing as they enter into this real world, the so-called real world, and the workforce as they walk away with those degrees or diplomas that they have gotten. All right, let's take a break. Lebo Lukewarm is in studio with us after this. Stay tuned.
What time is it? It's question time.
Is there enough political will?
Perhaps you should ask the question whether is there enough technical will.
Are African countries opening the markets for each other?
They are, but they are saddled with infrastructure deficits.
What needs to happen?
The delivery is an issue. We need to understand, why are we spending these huge sums of money, and the actual